welcome to Jay Moore, who, as we talk to him,
Going over speed bumps or something.
is in his vehicle with the shades on, laid back, very cash. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are we doing?
Good. How are you doing? What are we doing right now? Are we in the parking lot of your business?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yep, that's where we're at. Just didn't get in here soon enough, so I thought I'd just hang out with you guys in the car for a little bit.
Well, we did have Ice Cube playing. Today was a good day, and as you were going over the bumps, it looked like you were actually listening to the smell. So, all right, cool. You're just having one of those days.
Man, that's a great song. That's a fantastic song. Definitely in my top 10 playlists. But no, I can't take credit for that.
Okay, all right. Just worked out that way.
So last night I heard you, and people are irate. It was not live last night. They had some debate.
Yeah.
So people are catching up on. I know. I'm with you, but you don't have to say that out loud. Big Red wrap up. You talked about something that I think is important that I want you as a player to explain. You said your observation is Nebraska is finding a way more to win than not to lose. Mm-hmm. How important is that? But how difficult is that transition when it's always been finding a way to lose, not finding a way to win?
Yeah, it's extremely hard, especially what we've experienced the last, maybe decade, or at least since 2016, where the last time we made a bowl game. And I think from a fan base, it's hard because you have so much time to go through everything with a fine-tooth comb and nitpick and overanalyze. But really, at the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is the win-loss column, and if you score more points than the other team. And with that being said, it has areas in Nebraska struggled, and that's obviously been special teams and getting 4 kicks blocked in the past 2 games. Like, you don't win those football games. You do not. Like, the statistics are so greatly against you in that situation that you should lose. But Nebraska's found ways to win, and that's partly because of defense stepping up and making plays. They're taking better care of the football. Defense is creating turnovers. Some bigger plays have been made on offense to get field position. And I will say in special teams, rather opportunistic, Brian Buschini flipping the field, right? It was some punts in any game of Rutgers. So I think from a player perspective, all you really care is that you win the football game. You don't get caught up too much during the games, like, man, we're not running the ball well, or we got a couple punts blocked. You take things as they come. You try to learn from things on the fly, but things are moving so quickly, and you're dealing with a lot of different things and outside factors that you just got to focus on the next play ahead. And I think when it's all said and done, as long as you have more points than the other opponent, you're happy. But then Sunday comes around, and that's when the coaches can kind of get at you. This is what we need to improve on. Hey, good job winning the football game. But, hey, if we continue to do these things, we will potentially lose. But I think the biggest thing is, I said it last night, and I'll continue to talk about it, is winning's hard. Winning in the Big Ten is hard. Winning in college football has gotten more and more difficult every year. And all that matters is that we keep stacking those wins. And it's game by game. There's always going to be something that's going to pop up that maybe was good the week before and wasn't as good, or something that was poor the week before is better and improved. So I think finding ways to win, and just this team has grit, man. They're gritty. They're going to find one way to get it done, one way or the other, even though the statistics are stacked up against them. And whether people like it or not, I'll take it right now. And 5-1 heading to Indiana.
Jay, where the bye week comes, and given the fact that you've got 2 offenses on the slate, Indiana and Ohio State coming next for Nebraska, if you're looking at what you do well defensively, and then given the opponents that you have, what's just your full assessment? What are the points of emphasis in preparation, not just for that Indiana game, but for this defense moving forward with the schedule that's in front of them?
Yeah, you got to continue to do what your foundational pieces, right? What you've built on, you got to do those things well. That's you don't want to change those things. Obviously, continue to stop the run. Have everyone have a fine definition of what their roles are. Continue to tackle well in space. Force the opponents, receivers, ball carriers into your help side. continue to not give up points in quick, sudden change scenarios, i.e. block punts, turnovers, whatever that may be. But you look at teams like Indiana, Ohio State. I mean, Ohio State's one of the best teams in the country. Let's give that. I don't even want to really get that far ahead. I mean, how are you gonna handle Indiana's offense? Which Cignetti's got them. It's high potent. They're scoring a ton of points. Points per play is really, really good. You got to defend the RPO game really, really well. The quarterback has is mobile, can tuck it and run it. So with that being said, you got to be really disciplined. I think Indiana is going to be the best offense we face this year, maybe outside of Colorado. So you got to do things. You got to improve. You got to find out this bye week. Bye weeks are kind of a kiss of death, I said, because sometimes coaches can get too much time on their hands and try to do little things and tweak little things. But it's a good time to self-scout, recognize what you've done well, what you need to improve on, and go and get better at those things you need to improve on. But they don't have to change much, right? Indiana's going to make you tackle in space. They're going to want to get you in one-on-one scenarios. So you got to continue to do that. And that's been an issue for Nebraska's defense at times, is leaky yardage and tackling in space. But continue to do what you've done well, right? Create turnovers, be really good in quick change sudden situations, getting after the quarterback. We're getting home with 4 or 5 guys, which is awesome. And just take it play by play, man. They're good. They got Division I athletes. They're gonna get you every now and then. But the biggest thing is keep points off the board and keep battling day in and play in and play out.
Hey, the first 6 games, then the bye week comes, 3, then a bye, then 3. But let's focus on the first 6. What game, in your opinion, of the first 6 is closest to who you think Nebraska is right now? The identity of this football team with all 3 phases got to play together to win a game.
Man, that's tough. I don't know if we've fully put all 3 phases together. I would like to say the Colorado game. Mm-hmm. I think just how we got off to such a fantastic start. Defense was lights out majority of the game. Offense was able to run the ball very, very well against Colorado. Special teams we had issues. Special teams, we missed a field goal, got a punt blocked, gave up a long kickoff return after the first touchdown. So there were some issues there. But I think just with the energy that was going into that game, the hype, the team handled it very, very well. But from the aspect of it, I think we, like I said, ran the ball really, really well. Defense got after the quarterback, created turnovers, was very opportunistic. I think that's where I'd have to go. And again, we really haven't played let's be honest, we haven't played a full game. You might be able to look at the UTEP game, but UTEP I don't think has won a game this year. So there's still plenty of good football left to be played. But if I had to pick, I think that Colorado game, I got to highlight that one and say, okay, that first half of football was probably the best first half of football this team has played in, I don't know, 4 or 5 years.
Jay, when you watch Ty Robinson, what you saw from a year ago compared to this year, and given his snap count this last week, and in a game you needed him to be on the field as much as possible, and he never seemed to falter. In fact, crazy enough, he almost got stronger there in the second half. What, if anything, has jumped out to you between last year, where he was a very productive Ty Robinson, compared to where he is, where it almost seems like it's just the complete package right now?
Yeah, I think Ty is he's always, since he stepped on campus, he's had all the tools and the God-given talents to become a Sunday guy. And obviously he will be a Sunday guy, but he struggled with being consistent early in his career. And I think what's hard for ultra competitive, really good players is when you get, you come from a small pond, big fish type of scenario, and all of a sudden you're in a big pond where a lot of good fish are in this area. Your confidence can take a hit, right? And I think he struggled with a little bit of that, just not playing up to his expectations. He got down on himself. That's part of maturing, and that's part of growing up, and that's part of understanding, like, hey, there's good people, especially in the Big Ten, and good tackles and good whatever it may be. So I think he's improved that way, his mentality, just being consistent and understanding, like, hey, you might give me one play, but I'm going to come back and get you the next 7. So I tip my cap to him on that scenario. But his ability to, I think where he's really stepped up and is probably going to help his bank account add a few more commas to it is his ability to rush the passer. That's what teams in the NFL love, stopping the run and being great at the point of attack. He's always been good. I mean, I think back to that Wisconsin game where he played as a true freshman and just a few years ago, and he helped him on a goal line stand. I mean, that's big time stuff. But evolving into the pass rusher, getting home when you're able to split double teams and move around. They moved him and Nash around a bunch, so he's extremely mobile, knows how to get skinny in between gaps, knows how to use his hands, leverage. So I think where he's really taken it up a notch is just his ability to get after the quarterback, and that's going to, like I said, that's going to add a few extra commas to his bank account next year.
Jay Moore, who's got a big bank account and a good golf swing, and Blackshirt joins us. This is a good question. It's into your wheelhouse because you redshirted at Nebraska. Walk us through the dynamic of the decision to redshirt that involves a family, but then also, is it better to play baptism by fire? Like I'm looking at a guy like Keona Davis, who may not end up redshirting, and he's maybe playing 5 to 7 snaps, but he's in the heart of it in Big Ten football in the pit compared to, hey, redshirting and getting better. What's the balance of deciding if a guy like a Davis or a Van Poppel that this is the right thing for you to redshirt?
Yeah, it's hard. I think with Keona, he, again, similar type of guy with like Ty is you have all the bells and whistles, right? All the God-given talent. I mean, the guy is long, athletic, powerful. You want to be able to utilize him, but nowadays redshirting is vastly different. Majority of guys come in the spring, come in a semester early, and you get 4 games to play. We never really had that opportunity. The guys weren't coming in during the spring. Guys were still sticking around playing your spring sports and graduating high school in May, and then you come in the summer, do your workouts, and then try to see if you're up to the challenge during fall camp. I was not. I was a long ways away. Even if we had 4 games to play, I don't know if I'd have been ready to be thrown in that that fire. But nowadays, and I'll say, kids are better. Kids are vastly better coming out of high school. Coaching's better. There's just better. The technology that's around for kids and coaches in high school is better. But it's hard because I think you want to be able to throw them out there and see what they got. You want to be able to throw them out there against a UTEP, against a Northern Iowa, where you feel pretty confident you're going to win that football game no matter what. But let's see what they have. You can do one thing against competition of your own team in fall camp or spring ball, but how do you do it in front of 90,000 where it's loud and chaos and you're tired? And how's your brain work through all this? Can you think when you're tired? Can you process information when you're tired? That's a big thing for young players to kind of understand. But it's a nice asset to have when you can throw guys out there for 4 games. But now Keona and Riley Van Poppel, we saw Riley play on Saturday, and we thought he might not play much the rest of the season. So it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of utilize these guys going forward because they are talented. You hate to see guys stay on the sidelines when they can help you to win. So they got kind of a decision to make these next 6 to see how they kind of handle those. But it's a tough situation. You want to try to figure out guys who have talent and you want them to play, but you also want to kind of do some roster management so you can have them for another 3-4 years.
Well, and Jay, I know that even Matt Rule on Monday made the comparison. Speaking of Ty Robinson, talked about the jump that he's made. This coaching staff, and especially if we're talking about defensive players between Tony White, between Terrence Knight and Rob Dvorak and John Butler, maybe not necessarily John Butler yet because he's new to the staff, but given the reputation of being able to develop their guys, how much of that do you think also goes in the decision that it's easier for that player to accept because you can actually point at some direct results within a year's time with the staff and what they can do with that development?
Oh, 100%. I think being able to coach, like I said, coaching live game reps versus coaching practice reps is vastly different too. And that's a huge weapon you have as a coach, is to be like, hey, remember in practice, you can kind of go back and forth. We had the same look. You had the same pass set. You had the same blocking scheme. You had the same route concept. And you did it really well here, but all of a sudden you played 3 or 4 snaps in a game, got tired, and you messed up, you didn't communicate, you didn't pass it off well, your technique got sloppy. So I think that just carries more weight, and you can hit home so much sooner to these young players when you're able to coach on those live game reps. But you can just turn back, right? I mean, whether rules at Temple, Baylor, wherever he has the knack and the ability to take young players who are maybe off the radar, right, and not highly recruited, and develop them. You've seen that. We've taken some guys that out of Texas or Florida who are maybe 3 stars, but also they get on campus and in a year or two, they're going to be really good ball players. So I think he has a history of that. Tony White's able to just show, hey, look how quickly these guys have come along in the last couple of years. And then when you have that 4-game, leeway to play and not worried about burning a red shirt, you can really develop guys vastly quicker than years ago, where you had to sit on the sidelines and do scout team for a year.
Hey, we always get informed. We get knowledge, and we appreciate the time as always. You look great, man. That's a great background you got there.
Thanks, boys.
Hey, be good. We'll talk to you next week ahead of Indiana.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
CJ.
That is Jay Moore. He's definitely have a